All right, it's official. Thanks everybody for joining us for this October edition of the Focus On program. And thank you very much to Mary, who offered to join me after I asked her from the Wyandotte High School Library in KCK. So let's get started. Mary, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your path in librarianship?
Okay, well, I got my bachelor's in secondary ed and my emphasis was in history. And because I'm old enough, that was back when the history jobs were reserved for the coaches. So I wasn't having much luck with getting a history job. So I went back and got my master's. I was at K-State. They still had educational technology then, which is school libraries. So I got my master's in that. And my first library job was at Topeka High. And I was there for 7 years. When I started there, we were still using the card catalog. And during the time I was there, we transitioned into the digital catalog. So we had it shipped out and converted, but then we put the barcodes physically on all the books. And we also had the beginnings of the internet. And it was still a green screen and tractor feed paper, and you use DOS code to search for things. So it's very different from what people understand that it is today. After 7 years there, I went overseas to an international school, and I was there for 10 years. And as an international school, they taught the IB. The kids were mostly third culture kids, multilingual, and not multilingual because they were learning. They were fluent multilingual. And most of them were college bound. They were there for different reasons. Sometimes their parents were there. Sometimes they were living with host families. But the library, there was a library, but it didn't have, they'd never had a librarian. There's no catalog. There was no budget. I used to get money out of my headmaster and bring books back in my suitcase. So while I was there, we made a catalog. We made a digital catalog, rudimentary. We made it self-checkout for the elementary, and we were able to catalog the rest of it for the secondary, middle school, and high school. After 10 years there, I was looking to come back to the United States for family reasons, and I looked around. I still had my Kansas certification. So I was looking at school districts, and to be honest, completely honest, I looked at ones that didn't have censorship challenges on their records because I wasn't really interested in going to school districts that entertain censorship in the first place. And that led me to KCK. And they have been supportive in that sense ever since. We don't always have people that understand what we do, but for the most part, our district has always been supportive of library programs. They can't necessarily tell you why, but they do support us. So that's always been a good thing. Over the last few years, that's become even more secure. With a library director we had, Carol Levers, she was director of the public libraries at KCKPL, and she made it very much more a mission to make the school libraries be accepted and not kind of live on a shoestring from one year to the next. So that included budgets that would refresh our collection every so many years, where we could actually get rid of outdated material and have a significant addition that year. I think the first year we did it was about 2011, and I gutted maybe 7,000 books out of my collection for that reason. But they were books that people prior to me and myself had hung on to because we didn't have enough of a budget to be able to update them. So since that started, that's been maintained, and that's been a big difference for our kids, is to have current catalog or current collections that are new, that reflect their interests. They're not beat up. They're not hand-me-down donated books, parts of series, that sort of thing. So our collections are much improved for that reason, that investment in our libraries. The main difference I had coming from Malta to here was the kids here are multilingual, but learning English as a language. We're a high ELL population. Our kids are not necessarily college bound. Some are looking at careers. Some go to work immediately right out of school. Some are already supporting their families. So it's a very different student population. The biggest difference I probably made when I came here was I simply unlocked the doors. I mean, the program I inherited was not necessarily interactive with the rest of the building. We're open all day for that reason. We don't close. I don't take lunch. I don't take a plan. I don't disappear during the day. We're just always here. And I have Kim Hollenshed, who's the library secretary. I have her full time for that reason. If you can see from the photos, I don't really have an instructional space. So if I want to do anything that's related to databases or teaching them other things that we might be doing in the library, I go to the classrooms. So that has two advantages. One, I have a captive audience because they're in a classroom and they're contained, but it's also because I literally don't have a space to do it in here. And if someone walks in the door, everybody turns to look to see what's going on. So there would be no way to do it in here.
Gotcha.
So it is a beautiful space,
Yeah.
but it has
Yeah,
some
let's
advantages.
talk a little bit more about your community before we jump into the space.
Sure.
So you do show up. I shared the promo video with people when they registered, so hopefully they had a chance to look at that and they got a little bit of a glimpse of your school community. But what can you tell us? You've already informed us a little bit about it, but what else could you tell us about your group?
Well, the KCK district is an urban district. We have predominantly in Wyandotte County. We don't have a large tax base. It's one of the poorer counties in the state. We're right next door to Joco, which is one of the wealthiest. So the comparison is pretty extreme in that sense. Wyandotte being a large 6A school, we participate in 6A sports, but we don't have the same community of kids that grow up with youth sports and traveling teams and all that sort of thing. So the differences are very apparent to our kids. So it's important that within our buildings, those differences aren't felt. And that libraries play a big part in that. I know when we have just some Johnson County schools that come and play here for their away games, we have an AD principal that brings like the girls basketball team up and brings them on a tour through the library. And so they come in and they're like, wow, because they're not expecting this. We have the same thing anytime we host events here. People just don't expect the building to be what it looks like. And somebody asked me today if our kids realize what kind of a building they're in, and it's like, that's what they know. And some of our new elementaries that have been built, and we have some new middle schools as well, about to be built, and a couple of new ones as well. Those facilities are very good. And so the whole point is that our kids are getting the best possible resources that we can get, and we're doing it in a community that can't really afford it. So it's even more important that they have
Yeah.
resources.
You
Go ahead.
you mentioned a little bit about how the library operates and that you are open all day. Is there anything else? And you also mentioned that you have basically another full timer there. Is there anything else we might be interested to know about how the school library operates, and also in conjunction with like classroom time?
Yeah, we do a flex schedule, so classes can schedule however they want. Today was kind of hectic for that very reason. We have conferences at the end of the week, so we were adjusting so people could still bring their kids in. We have classes that show up last minute to use the writing center, for instance. So I'm in the writing center right now, so my writing center kids are around the corner working with a class that the teacher came up, like an hour before they needed to come in, and we worked it out. We just find ways to work things out. We have so many things that happen. College visits to, there was a college fair going on today that you kind of have warning about, and then sometimes you don't. So if we're rigid, we can't accommodate any of that. So we try to always be as flexible as possible and figure out with the teachers, it's always what works best for you.
Yeah.
And I always want to have that outreach with the teachers that, well, whatever you need, we will do it that way. So I have classes that don't have time to come. I go to them and we do renewals and returns that way. And I just carry stuff back. That's typical in all of our schools. We have a couple of schools that are working on being refurbished right now for different reasons. And so they don't have access to their libraries, and they're making a mobile library around their own building. So whatever our kids need is what we manage to do for them. We have 1,900 kids in this building,
Oh,
and
wow.
we have 4 different lunch shifts, and we just have kids sign up because I also have college kids in here that are doing dual credit, so they take up a certain amount of space. So to allow room for lunches, because I wasn't going to give that up, because we've always had a really healthy lunch traffic, is
Yeah.
the kids sign up, but that includes the ones that want to eat lunch. They go to the cafeteria and get their lunch and come up here and eat it. So we run it like a college library. There's no signs saying you can't have this and you can't do that. So part of that is learning how to share that space and be thoughtful. And so people eat in
Right.
here. And we get kids that come here just for the peace, because it's not a quiet library, but it's also
Right.
not chaotic. So they can get
Gotcha.
the cafeterias are a zoo, and they just don't like noise. So they come here instead. and that gives them a place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a good
let's
mental
talk
space.
about this big, beautiful space.
Yeah.
Uh, it's pretty much one room and then the writing center. Can you describe how it?
Yeah, the picture of the main room, the opposite you see at the far end, that's the fiction room. And the bottom left picture is from the back of the fiction room looking back out towards the main room. So there are two symmetrical end rooms like that. And the one
Mm,
side opposite me is the fiction room, and I'm in the other side. And we turned it into a writing center. When I got here, it was full of rows of chairs and a huge, uh, I mean, huge, like, I don't know, 100+ inch smart TV, which I didn't
mhm.
want to use. And we rolled that beast out of here. And I mean, it really took up a huge amount of space. And that was what the previous librarian had used. And according to people that were here, to come to the library, you had to sit through her session in here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So we converted it, and I wanted to use it for something. And so I thought a writing center would be a good model. I was willing to do it. So the kids that take the dual credit classes, they have days when their classes don't meet. So I recruit from them because it's a study hall time for them, and train them to be tutors, and we do a writing service, a writing center service that way. So
That's interesting. I haven't heard
yeah,
people talk about that in
yeah,
previous interviews.
we run it like a college writing center. So it's conversation based. It's very much the hardest thing for them to do is learn how to stay out of the paper. It's not what you would write. We
Hmm.
might help them figure out what they want to say and then ways to say it. So that's how we approach it. It comes and goes. Since COVID, it hasn't been as busy. I have a whole new staff essentially. So the teachers I've had that used it before are still using it, and we're trying to get other teachers to be a part of that as well. That's true for the library too. And that's another thing that's changed with our population is when I first started, we didn't have one-to-one devices. And I'm not sure about what year we started that, but it was around '05. No, see, I started in '05, like '09, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
We started getting one-to-one devices, and that's changed the makeup of how the library is used as well.
Right. So there is no computer lab type space anymore. Everybody
Yeah.
just kind of
No,
uh
and they were like steampunk. They were heaving old PCs because the library always gets the last. So we got rid of those, and now I just have strips on the table for people to plug their devices into. Um,
yeah.
so we kept the space. We didn't want to lose any of that space. And it's a beautiful room, but I have 1935 electricity, so I have very few electrical points.
I
So where
was
they
just going to
are,
ask that.
yeah, where they are, we have strips plugged in, so that way the kids still have access to be able to plug their own devices in. And when we push databases more for that reason, because the teachers, the days of needing the collection to be full of nonfiction books for English teachers to do their
Right.
argumentative papers over, those are gone. Those are long gone.
Yeah.
So I actually have retooled our collection to be very much interest-based for the students. It's much more like
Hmm.
a bookstore collection than it is a school library. Um, and that really was my choice based on the use of the library, and the people using the library were the kids. So
Yeah.
while we have the informative stuff on all the basic things, all the
Hmm.
basic subject areas are covered, and a few specialty areas when a kid gets really interested in it, we'll add to that. But we have a huge graphic novel collection for that reason. Um, and everything's been, replaced a couple of times over because I've been here as long as I have, that it really is geared towards what the kids are interested in, and not necessarily what a teacher is going to be teaching in class, because that's what we have the databases for. Plus
Right.
they're current and topical. So that's worth the investment in that. We always have to kind of justify why we spend so much money on databases, because they're bought through the district at the district level for all of us. And it's like you couldn't begin to replace in book form, and it's always out of date,
You're
and
right.
you don't have simultaneous use, and we're not going to have 35 copies of one book. So it solves so many problems, and
Right.
you just have to keep communicating that, because people don't necessarily understand it.
What what did you see when you were able to finally have that budget to replace books? What happened to the circulation and with your change to being more about like popular reads or
I was able
reading for
to
enjoyment?
I know, especially true at the elementary level, but the stuff that's super popular that gets beat up
Hmm.
fast and you're just nursing it along and taping it to within an inch of its life. You didn't have to do that anymore. You could actually I never were really take donated books unless they're brand, like they were a preview copy and they're brand new,
Hmm.
because our kids have gotten used to having nice new books, and just something that's beat up and taped and glued. We don't have to hang on to it. We can replace it.
Yeah.
As the same was true for what passed as our classics lit collection. Um, really old stuff that, maybe if you're an English lit major in college, you may read. And based on the people that got English degrees in our building, they didn't read them. So why do we have them? So
Right.
we retool it for things that they're more likely to want. So out of the classics, it's the stuff that the kids are actually asking for, and then the contemporary stuff is just whatever they're interested in. So yeah, we're able to meet a lot of needs that way. Plus, we have interlibrary loan among our schools. So what I have that somebody might be interested in, another school might have something that we don't have. I mean, we place holds all the time for that reason
Gotcha.
among our different levels. So yeah, we're able to meet a lot of needs for that reason.
Let's, you've talked about some services like the Writing Center, and we talked about
Mhm.
collections a bit. Let's talk about just some of your programs that you have that are library sponsored or.
Yeah, I'm laughing because this was Brianna Finley's idea originally. She is an elementary librarian at M.E. Pearson, who's one of my feeder schools.
Mm.
And she had heard about a program and she asked me about it one time. I'm like, yeah, we can figure something out. And so it started from that. And it's Athletes Read Aloud. And this will be our third year. We had it booked, I think at the end of last year, we picked a date. We do it usually the week before spring break. We'd like to do it all the time, but it is a nightmare. It's so fun on the day, but getting
Yeah.
high school kids where they need to be and excused from all their classes, and if everybody shows up on the day you're going to do it, I mean, oh, it's such a pain to organize, and it's so worth it because on the
Yeah.
day it's so fun. And it's my kids go over to her school and do a read aloud with her kids. And what she does is she has classes sign up kindergarten through fourth. Her fifth graders are the escorts. So the kids in this picture here, the main picture, they're some of the fifth grade escorts. They're paired off and they take my pairs, the partners, around to go to, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Um, they go around to take them around. They're on a schedule. Those little fifth graders have their clipboard and their timer. They keep us on time, and they take them from room to room to room to read to the different classes. So we get books about a week ahead of time from Brianna. The kids choose what they want to read to the classes, and then they show up in these classes for the teachers that volunteered. And I tell the high school kids, I'm like, you're never going to be cooler than you are today, because they walk in and
Yeah.
kids' eyes just get this big, and it's so fun that it's always it's surprising. Like these three basketball boys, I didn't even know outside of the fact that they were on the basketball team, and they were fantastic. Who knew? Who knew?
Hmm.
And they were great with the kids. They take all kinds of questions. How'd you get that scar on your eyebrow? Does your school serve their pizza square or triangles? Uh,
The important
just,
question.
yeah, the important things. And they handle all of it. They really work the
Yeah.
rooms really well. So we take all the different sports. I just asked this coaches to recommend some kids. And it's a morning trip. So we have to, unfortunately, the kids that go to our tech programs, because they do dual credit with the technical school as well. Can't take the tech kids because they can't usually get out of their classes. But anybody else we can take, we go over for a couple of hours and do the read aloud every year. So it's really good fun. We thought about opening it up to anything that's Keisha, so even band and
Uh,
cheerleading could go, but it comes down to transportation. And if we use the school van, it doesn't cost us anything as opposed to a bus, which we have to pay for. So we do the school van, and we did I'll do 2 trips this year because we had 2 vans last year and we don't this year. So we
yeah.
don't want to lose kids. We want to take the same amount of kids. So we'll make 2 trips.
Yeah, I imagine seeing the older students. I mean, I just remember how adult high
Yeah.
schoolers seemed when you were a young first grader or
Mm.
second grader. but also just to be able to see a little bit of themselves, I would guess too, is knowing that they're, from a feeder, that they're from the feeder schools.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
see that a lot of
Well,
um, introspection of your high schoolers or?
yeah, yeah. Because in this photo, the big 62 footballer at the
Yeah.
back, he went to the school we're standing.
Oh, how
And so
neat.
did two other kids in that photo. And so their teachers were all real anxious to see them and then couldn't believe it because he's a big kid. And they last saw him when he was the size of the kids sitting down on the floor.
Right.
And when they walked, the first time we took the football players, I had three big football players the first year we went, and they walked in, and these little kids, we ran into like kindergarten right off the bat, and they stopped and they stared up and they said, "Are you the Kansas City Chiefs?" So I was like, "No, that's not who they are." So yeah, and what's nice is I tell my kids, I said, regardless of what you think about what your reading habits are today, you love reading. It's the best thing ever. And if you struggle with reading, tell them that, if you stumble over words, it's okay. Just make sure that they understand that it's okay. So it's a good upbeat day for everybody. Brianna
Yeah,
said, it's her favorite day of the year, and it kind of is mine too.
that's cool.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a really great program.
Yeah.
What other type of programs do you do throughout the year? Maybe that aren't as hectic.
Well, I haven't done it for a couple of years, and we did it one year. It was really fun. We did a kind of the same way I do with the videos when I ask for photos. We did a pet photography contest, and we had categories. We had cutest, weirdest, and um, strangest, not weirdest, strangest. What was it? Dopiest? I don't know. Silliest.
Derpiest.
That's what it was. Silliest photo. So we did it was partly a photo contest, but mainly about your pet. And so people could give us, and then we had all the photos they were all digital, and and the vote went out to everybody. So it was just whoever garnered the most votes.
Right.
And so what we did was with that, we got their photo blown up that they had submitted, and we had them pose with their photo and in front of the display that we put up to go along with it, which was all of our books on dogs and cats and horses.
Right.
So they were part of the display as well. So we turned it into a book display as well. But it was a building wide contest. We got a lot. I think we got 70 plus pets submitted.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's a
think the
lot.
ferret won for the strangest one, and yeah, so that was the strangest one we
I
had.
love a good contest.
Yeah, yeah, and it
I,
didn't cost anything. It was
yeah.
my graphics arts teacher did the photos, so it was
So
good.
they just get bragging rights is the
Yeah,
prize.
I got them candy bars.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So other than that, yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
Like, so that was something we did. It's just we've tried try to make the library participate in as much as possible. I mean, we're visible in the building. I go to a lot of the kids' events, so they know I'm the library lady. Uh, the advantage of Kim, she's a alum from our building. She's
Hmm.
knows a lot of the families that have been cycling through here for a couple
Right.
generations. Um, her relatives or my relatives, my I'm their aunt basically.
That's
So
sweet.
you get to know who families are because of that reason. And I've been
Hmm.
here long enough that I'm starting to
Right.
see kids of kids I had.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots of siblings too, I assume as
Yeah.
well.
Siblings, lots of cousins. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk with our last 5 minutes or so, or we can catch up about other things too. I, we talked earlier today before we went live about partnerships.
Mhm.
Um, what kind do you have, and what do they provide for you? And
Right. One of our main partners, KCKPL, has been a big partner for us. Before we switched up, our directorship has now fallen back in with the district, but prior to that, um, we did our databases through them. We were able to pool resources. So we shared a lot. They hosted our websites for us. They did the web design, all that kind of thing. So a lot of that's shifted hands,
mhm,
but as far as programming goes, each of the branches has a youth librarian that's assigned a region of our school district. So we all have a youth librarian representing us at the public library that we can contact for whatever we might need. I put one in touch of our sheltered science teacher who these kids never had a chance to do anything with dissection. So they're bringing our
Mm.
environmental branch, Schlegel Environmental Library, they're bringing
Yes.
their mobile dissection unit to the school for the kids to have a dissection. Um, and there's,
I didn't know they had a mobile
yeah.
dissection unit. That sounds like something that should have its own TV show.
Yeah, and then we've had some schools that had to close libraries because they had construction going on at their schools, and they were
Mm.
able to make the mobile libraries have regular visits, work it into their schedule, and they're really overbooked. So they went out of their way to do that. I think the biggest thing for the high schools, or at least from our point of view, has been the author visits.
Mm.
Because there's ways to make author visits happen more easily at the elementary level sometimes than it is at the secondary when people think, kids don't read when they get to that age. We've had some phenomenal author visits. Our claim to fame is we had Jason Reynolds 2 years ago, and our kids asked the questions. It wasn't like it was
Oh,
an
neat.
adult-led thing. And there were other Wyandotte County schools that were participated because of their relationship with KCKPL, but the public libraries who funded that. I mean, the kids all got a
Gotcha.
book to keep. Every time we have an author visit, they get a book of their own to keep. We've had authors in person, but we've also had them over Zoom.
Right.
And the kids that participate, they get the books, they get to meet an author, they get asked the questions. So that's been, I have a kid that did it at middle school with his middle school group and wanted to know if we were going to do it. And I said, well, how old are you? And he says, I'm a sophomore. I said, we might be able to get one in before you're gone. Because I mean, money's tight anymore.
Yeah.
There for a while, we were doing them pretty regularly, but that's been a really great thing for the kids to do because they even over Zoom, it was their questions that were being asked and they were the ones asking the questions. So they participated in that. I was really happy to see that happen.
Neat.
Yeah.
What other types of partnerships do you have? I think you mentioned something about kind of food insecurity. And what's the
Yeah.
library's role in that?
Well, is it not necessarily the libraries, but libraries are always a part of that messaging in our buildings.
Hmm.
Harvesters has a big presence in our community, and the high schools have their own, like we have harvesters every 2 weeks that the kids are volunteer with. But we serve families that are part of our school group, so part of our school cluster. So if you're in that cluster, they come to the Wyandotte one. So that helps with the food insecurity. We've got a clothing closet that operates out of our building. So anybody that it doesn't matter for whatever reason that you get caught out needing clothes, but we can also set up households.
Mm.
They do different drives for that reason. So it's not just school supplies. Sometimes it's clothing, sometimes it's bedding. But the same family liaison, she gets people can't afford eye exams, or they've broken their glasses, they can't get frames, extra trips to the dentist, beyond what the schools are sometimes able to provide. So she does that through community liaisons network. So that's worked really well. So part of that messaging, it's kind of we all offer community service within each other's groups so that somebody needs it, somebody for whatever reason needs the service or needs the community service. As a recipient,
Oh, yeah.
a volunteer, we kind of are all interconnected with that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like you guys have a very important role
I would say
at
in KCK
Wyandotte.
especially, yes, our school district, I mean, our libraries certainly are offering that space in our buildings. And our district's been supportive of that. I think they
Yeah.
recognize how much our families need that.
Yeah. I love how you said, that they might not totally get it at the administrative level, but they're also like not in your way and they're
Yeah.
letting you do what you do. I've never heard anybody say that they look to see what kind of challenges censorship basically had happened before looking in. I think that's, when that matters to you, I think that's a really great tell.
I don't love working enough to work somewhere where I don't want to be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm going to work somewhere, I need to feel like they are committed to what I'm doing as opposed to I'm trying to explain myself.
Right. And like an ongoing battle. That wouldn't get me out of bed every day, I don't think.
No.
All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much for educating us about KCK High School at the Wyandotte High School. It's been really interesting to hear about all of that, and appreciate you taking time away from your community today to kind of share with all of us who tuned in or watching this recording. So we'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll see folks in a future installment of the program. Thanks for being here.
Okay, thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely.